Teen turmoil is a deliberately engineered societal issue, not an inevitable phase of life. The treatment of young people in modern society is one of the most normalized forms of dehumanization. They are denied nearly all adult rights despite possessing adult biological capacities. They aren't allowed to sign contracts, vote, work freely, live independently, or even decide what medical procedures to undergo. Instead, they are placed under enforced dependence on older adults who may or may not have their best interests. Such imposed dependence naturally creates the conditions for exploitation and abuse. When one group is stripped of legal power and autonomy, the other gains unchecked control. Emotional, physical, and sexual abuse are not anomalies within this system. They are its logical and inevitable outcomes. The issue of teen turmoil is a socially engineered, man-made problem that has nothing to do with brain structure. There are slight differences between the brains of teens and 30-year-olds, just as there are slight differences between the brains of 30-year-olds and 50-year-olds, 50-year-olds and 80-year-olds, and so on. What has happened is that people have taken these small, ordinary differences in young people's brains and blamed them for what they call teen turmoil. There is not a single causal study that supports this claim, and even proponents of the theory admit that the evidence is purely correlational. Brain size peaks in the early teens, and after that peak, intellectual gains are minimal. In the 20s and 30s, the brain actually begins to decline, and by the time a person reaches about 70, the brain has shrunk to roughly the size it was at 3 years old. Yet, because of culture and social dynamics, this fact will never be discussed as widely as the so-called adolescent brain. What society calls teen angst is not a biological phase but a socially engineered condition. Media, schools, and institutions deliberately cultivate ignorance, powerlessness, and dependency, then pathologize the frustration that naturally follows. When young people respond to their oppression with anger, confusion, or rebellion, the media frames it as though they are inherently this way, rather than as a reaction to subjugating and coercive conditions. The cultural narrative works to portray these natural responses to systemic subjugation as pathology, thereby rationalizing the cruelties of the system itself. It then presents further control and restriction as the solution to the very problem it created. This circular logic keeps young people trapped in perpetual social and legal subordination. The extended period of childishness is not something young people choose. It is forced upon them by a system that denies them the opportunity to integrate into the adult world and become capable, participating members of society. Young people are in fact shamed for expressing a desire for autonomy and responsibility, and they are often punished or intimidated out of trying to achieve it. In essence, they are pressured and molded into being the teenagers society wants them to be: dependent, reactive, and dysfunctional. The profound lack of representation of testimonies from young people who have been abused under this system in mainstream media is perplexing. This omission may stem from deep societal conditioning and societal narrative that enables such abuse. It may also be that criticizing this system is seen as socially unacceptable, leading many to frame these abuses as isolated tragedies rather than as symptoms of a systemic and culturally sanctioned societal problem. The abuse young people face under this system is a direct and predictable consequence of their social and legal marginalization. They are systematically stripped of rights and regarded as inherently inferior. The power imbalance created by this structure enables abuse in many forms, from sexual violation to heightened vulnerability to physical harm. Deprived of the legal and social standing afforded to full citizens, they are left exposed to the whims and abuses of those granted authority over them. If the experiences of these abused young people were widely heard, they would expose the structural nature of their vulnerability and dismantle some convenient stereotypes used to justify their subjugation. What is also significant is the deliberate absence of capable, self-supporting young people in mainstream media. Given the prevailing cultural narrative, this absence is predictable. Such representation, especially on a large scale, would undermine the myth that young people are inherently hedonistic, unstable, or dysfunctional, and would reveal that their perceived deficiencies are products of social design, not nature. The narrative that sustains this system is inherently fragile. It survives only through force, pseudoscience, constant repetition, and widespread ignorance. At its core lies a refusal to see reality as it actually is. The solution is not greater control over young people, but their full integration into the adult world, teaching them to become capable, functioning members of society with the same rights and responsibilities as any other citizen. Becoming a functioning member of society and a full citizen is the only real safeguard against dependency and the abuse and dehumanization that accompany it. The narrative that sustains this system is inherently fragile. It survives only through force, pseudoscience, constant repetition, and widespread ignorance. At its core lies a refusal to see reality as it actually is. The solution is not greater control over young people, but their full integration into the adult world, teaching them to become capable, functioning members of society with the same rights and responsibilities as any other citizen.